What's up, everyone, and welcome to Game Chat.
Game and Chat.
Game and Chat. I am sorry. This is Al, along with
Harmack.
DJ Harmack. This is our brand new Thursday night show. I'm actually doing this show under the weather, Harmack. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Are you sick too, dude?
I was sick. I could not get up for anything this morning. I woke up and I literally just felt like I was just gonna lose it all.
Everything was going to come up from the night before.
It was a porcelain morning, if you get my drift on that
dude,
one.
That's
But I ended up just laying down, and then I got back up around 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Sounds like you got the flu. My sister had it earlier this week. She's just now getting better, I guess, a couple days ago. My nephew was puking. He's only 2. He must have got it, and now everyone in my brother's house is sick. So there's something going around.
By the way, I need to record this on my podcast recorder because we are podcasting these shows.
Hell yeah!
So I gotta start that intro over again. Just hang on a second here. We're gonna do it live.
Can we swear on this?
Welcome to Game and Chat. This is Al along with DJ Harmack. If you just are now tuning in, we've been on for a few minutes.
We just forgot to hit record.
We just forgot to hit record on our lovely little podcast player here, and hopefully this is coming through okay on the wonderful waves of Twitch.
I'm listening to it on the stream, on their stream. It sounds pretty good.
Great. Now, of course, with the music, I don't know if you've been able to figure this out, but our inaugural show here is going to be about Double Dragon, so that's why I've had nothing but Double Dragon music playing for the last.
It was bringing me back. It is bringing me back.
Oh, we're going to bring you back tonight, Harmack.
Yeah.
We're going to bring you back because this is just to give kind of a heads up of what this show is going to be all about week after week. We're going to play games and not only just do because everybody can just do a regular Let's Play where you just watch someone play a game and occasionally they'll say something, and you just don't feel like you get that show experience. Well, what we're going to bring differently here is we're going to not only play the games, but we're going to chat while we play the games about the games that we're playing. Now, we're no experts on some of these games. Some of these games will be the first time we'll ever be playing them. And I am unfortunately set up right now where only I can do the playing. I think we're going to change that down the road for some of the consoles that Harmack owns over here. But I happen to own everything here in the studio, so...
He's the gaming guru, everybody.
Yeah, so I think we're just going to go with that, and I'll just be playing from here. But I'll be talking with Harmack as while we do this, and basically we'll just shoot the shit about gaming, if you will, because we don't.
Oh yeah.
I feel like on our regular show, the Escape show that we do we'll be doing that live tomorrow.
Yep.
But I feel that a lot of times on that show we don't get a chance to talk much about games, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of other stuff that it just takes place at games, unfortunately, because you got four people you're trying to deal with, and not maybe everyone has played it, so they all can't contribute.
Right, and the fact is, we always seem to run out of time too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the time is a big factor. We've been sitting on a retro review that we normally do. We normally do retro reviews about once per month on the show. It used to be every week.
Oh yeah.
That we were doing retro reviews, and then we kind of slimmed it down to I think once a month now, and that's even if we get to it. And we've been sitting on one for
3 months now, I think.
A good 3 months. Yeah, it's been quite a while. So Harmack and I were
What was the last one we played? It was that one point and click game that Eric had scared the hell out of.
It wasn't even Shadowgate. It was Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Is the last one we played.
Yes, that's right. We did a whole playthrough of that, but that was the whole show.
It was.
I'm just talking about our normal, just take a look at this game and we'll explain it for a second.
I guess probably Shadowgate, maybe. Maybe it has probably been a while, but we were chatting.
I think the one before that was basically the pinball games. It was a competition between me and Eric.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. We were chatting over break, though, over a holiday break from the show, because Harmack came up to Escape Studios here. We're based out of Cleveland. Harmack is in the Windy City, Chicago.
Yep.
And we just basically said, we wanted to do something where it would kind of like be a let's play, but we couldn't really do that together very well
Obviously.
for obvious reasons. We're in different states, so we said, well, why don't we?
I'm a big guy, but I don't have the longest arms in the world. I can't reach 300 some miles. It's just not going to happen.
And until Elon Musk comes up with that whole shuttle that gets people from Cleveland to Chicago in 30 minutes,
Yeah.
we'll have to do this for now. So we came up with this idea. We're just going to do a regular talk-based show, like a podcast show, but at the same time, we'll just, play the game that we're talking about, and we'll talk about other gaming-related topics as well.
Yeah.
We'll take
And
questions.
talk about I'm thinking also talking about memories of us either playing the game or my aspect, because I was one of the few that didn't own really any consoles until the mid 90s, and then it was just a Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because my parents were just broke. I mean, they were sending us both, me and my brother, both to Catholic school, so it was like there's no
That's
money
expensive.
for consoles.
That's very expensive. Yes.
And so basically most of my memories are from me and my friend Bill, who used to live here, and he had those. So I'd go over there and I'd play a couple, but I'd more than likely watch him play and just be like, yeah. So a lot of my memories will be coming from that, but there's a lot of good memories with this game.
I myself, I owned my first console was an NES, of course, but I was no stranger to video games because I had played, Atari, 2600 and 5200 at my uncle's house, and I was very much in love with those games. In fact, he loaned me his Atari 5200. That was the first console I had in my house. And I remember the first game, and we actually talked about it on our regular Escape show, but the first game I'd ever played being, on the 5200 at my house was Moon Patrol. And I remember, like, playing that, getting all, like, because it went up all through the letters of the alphabet. Like, you went from A to, like, Z. Yep. I remember getting up to, like, I think, like, T or U, somewhere in there, and, like, just not being able to go further. But, hey, I was 5 years old, so,
I mean,
what more can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I could honestly say my first console was, we were still living in Minnesota at the time, so this is before I was 7, because we moved to Chicago when I was 7. So my dad had bought an Atari 2600, and the first game I ever remember playing on that was with my mom was Breakout.
I remember Breakout. Yeah, Breakout was great.
The favorite level. What?
That was with the paddles, right? On the Atari?
Yeah, we had the paddles. We had the 2 paddles and the 1 joystick. I don't know why he didn't get 2. But I think it came with 2 paddles and 1 joystick. I think he bought it from like one of his friends. And because it came with a bunch of games, so I'm assuming he did it that way. So I remember playing that with my mom, and I think the only level I remember is the one where you're playing and it's almost like a face looking at you, with the 2 balls bouncing around and like his eyes. I don't know if you remember that level.
No,
for some reason I
not
do.
really.
No.
I wasn't like I wasn't too good at Breakout.
Me and my mom used to play that.
I did. Like my parents, it's weird. Like my parents had an Atari 2600 before, like at some point before I was born, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't have the console, or they lost the console or something, and then I either bought another one later in life when I found the games. Like they saved their stash of games.
Oh wow!
And so I have them here. Like I told them, I said I'm
is that whole box you have?
Yes, I said I'm the gamer of the family. I'm kidnapping these Atari games because you don't care about them. I will care about them. So I ended up bringing them to my house here now, and I still have them, and they still work as far as I'm concerned.
And he still has E.T.
Yes, and one of the games that they bought into was E.T., which it's weird to think, like, where would your parents in the 70s like hear about the latest video games?
Well,
to come out.
like I said, the Atari 2600 came out in what, 81 or 80?
Yeah. Or, okay, let's say even 80s. Let's say like, early 80s. I thought it was 79, but maybe it is early 80s.
I think it was 80s. I could be wrong.
Let me look that up.
I can honestly say though that my dad was always kind of into it, at least when he was younger. Because I mean, when I was born, my parents were in their 20s, so it was, my dad was kind of more into the up and coming gadgets, and I guess a lot of his friends at work, were younger and either didn't have kids yet or had young kids and said that this is a fun thing. I mean, that's what made him buy our next console, which was the Texas Instruments home computer.
We were both wrong, by the way. It's 1977.
Dude, is that when it came out? Seriously?
I knew they had it before I was born because I never
Wow.
remember them having this thing hooked up anywhere. And like I was always like an electronics person, and the minute I saw video games, I was like just instantly drawn to them.
Oh, so was I. Yeah.
So it's like, I knew it had to have been before I was born. So I don't know what they did with that original VCS, but like it was like a Sears branded one, I want to say. I don't know. They had different brands at that time, I believe, but
that's back when any company could copy any other company.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I took their games. I still have them here, and I remember the very first Atari 2600 game I ever played was Surround. That was with the games with the lines where you couldn't. It was almost like Snake.
Yeah.
On if you remember those old like Nokia phones that had Snake on them, it's kind of like that.
Or the Texas Instruments calculators. Yeah.
But yeah, so I that's when I kind of like that's how far back I go with video games.
Yeah, you go about as far back as I do.
Yeah.
My thing was basically after my dad bought that Texas Instruments home computer, I didn't have another console until the NES, and that was basically at the end of the NES's life cycle. And then the next one I got after that was probably what I consider my biggest mistake. I decided to go with a Genesis instead of a Super Nintendo.
Like back then, I think it was a mistake. But looking back,
Yeah.
like when you have them later, I think it's never a mistake.
No, but then it was because it didn't dawn on me that everybody I knew had an SNES.
Yeah, that was exact same with me. As everybody I knew went with Nintendo. Like I knew one kid across the street who had a Sega Genesis, and that's when I first played Sonic. And I remember looking at the game, and it was after I already played Super Nintendo. I was like, this looks okay, but I'm like, there's no way this is better than Super Mario World. Like it was not colorful enough. It just I don't know. It was just Sonic racing through levels. I'm like, I don't get this.
Well, me being like a DJ and stuff like that, the one thing I did notice that was, if anything, that the Super Nintendo had over the Genesis was just the absolute sound quality was so much better on the SNES.
Yeah, it had that Sony chip in there. That's why, because they were really big on that chip.
Yeah. But then the next one I got after that, I mean, this goes to show you like the span after the Genesis. The next one I bought was after Hell. It was the PlayStation, the original, and
PS1.
I haven't looked back.
Yeah,
I've been buying PlayStations ever since.
I said in the 90s that I was always just going to stick with Nintendo because I never went Genesis. Like, I did buy a TurboGrafx, but I bought it secondhand. I really liked that thing, but, like, I was always, like, I'd always would go back to Nintendo because they always just had the games that I liked. Like, it was just, everything was there. You had Zelda, you had your Mario, you had your Final Fantasy, you had your, all the Metroids, like, everything they just had, and I didn't care for anybody else's, I thought Bonk's Adventure was cool. I thought Splatterhouse was cool, but I'm like, it just wasn't Nintendo. So then whenever PS1 came out, like I waited because I knew the Nintendo 64 was coming. I'm like,
yeah, that's what my cousin did too.
Yep. I'm like, I don't want the PlayStation. I'm like, I don't even know what the PlayStation is. They had no mascots. I didn't. A buddy across the street got one. I played like Jumping Flash. I remember, and I was just like, okay, well this looks good, but there's just no personality to this game. There's no, you're drawn to like the personality of the games, and that one had none to me. Back then.
Heard of that game?
Yeah, it's on the PS Classic. If you buy the PS Classic out now, it was one of the launch titles with the original PlayStation.
Oh.
It's okay. It's nothing to like write home about. It's just it's amazing at the time because it was a full 3D game, and the only other full 3D games you had was like Doom, or
well, that never got ported to PS1. I don't think.
Right, but I'm just saying like on the PC, that was the only thing relatable to it was full 3D was on anything on the PC.
Oh yeah. I mean that was back in the day. Also, if you had a PC capable of running it.
Right.
We did.
So I ended up waiting to get the PS1, and then what got me to get one not immediately, but what got me to focus on getting one was when they canceled Final Fantasy 64 and they unveiled Final Fantasy 7 was going to be a PS1 exclusive. I was like, that was such a burn. Like I'm like,
it really was,
because that's what I was waiting for on my N64. I was like, man, I can't wait for Final Fantasy 64. This is gonna be great. Because they had like a tech demo at the time that showed off, like it looked like it was gonna be a sequel to 6. Like it had all the characters like in a 3D tech demo.
Right.
But then they showed off, like the spiky haired kid, you know, in running through one of the reactors. Like it was like a couple screenshots I saw, and it was like, you know, PlayStation exclusive. I think like Game Informer or whatever, Game Pro or whatever was around at the time broke that story, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, you got to be kidding me. There's no
Well,
way they're gonna go to.
the only reason they dumped 64 was that the CDs had more room to store data on.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, like, plus it was a cost cutting measure too. Like, you know, you're looking at
Oh yeah.
you're looking at you know, like they had they had 3 discs that cost them a lot less and paled in comparison to a cart, where, you know, basically I think I don't know what the exact uh you know, how much the cartridges could hold.
I think if I remember listening to actually the gaming historian. I think he said the CDs obviously could hold 800 if they were,
Yeah,
you know,
800
the
megabyte discs were, yeah.
and he said the carts could only hold like somewhere like 120 or 300
I think
something.
that's being a little
Like,
too generous.
I don't know. I mean, they were. I mean, by the end of the N64's life cycle, they were up to like I think almost like 500 megs it could hold. But by that point, it was so expensive to make them. You know, it was just cheaper to go CD.
I'm gonna go to the internet here on this one, Harmack, because here on Game and Chat we give the facts.
Yes.
64
Facts.
megabytes is the highest it could hold.
Oh my God.
64
But there was a
megabyte.
point where it got higher though.
No, it was hold up to 512 megabits, which is 64 megabytes, whereas the PS1 disc could hold up to 650.
Oh yeah, the original discs.
Yes, they
Yeah.
weren't the
I'm
800
thinking of-
megabyte discs, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the dual layer discs. I think it was. Yeah.
But anyway, so for another time, we'll
Yeah.
be playing PS1 or N64. This is kind of like the basics of our gaming history, if you will. But
Mhm.
now it's time to go to the couch, and what we do
So now you know us.
now we go to the couch, and this is where we play some games and we talk some games. So we kind of debated on what to do on the first episode of the show. Like we were like, well, what do we play? Like where do we even start? You know. And so when we did our little test run of this a couple weeks ago, I just randomly picked Double Dragon, and it went pretty well. So we're like, well, why not just start with Double Dragon? But Harmack, I'm going to throw a twist at you here.
All right.
Not only do I have the original NES Double Dragon as what we're going to play,
All right.
I did get my hands on the arcade version that is on the Nintendo Switch store.
Oh, no kidding.
So there is an actual arcade version, the original one that we all played first.
So
before
it's not a dumbed down port. It's the actual arcade.
Yeah, we're going to go to the actual arcade here. And then if we have time, you know, maybe we'll jump back to the NES. We did the NES one on our test run, which is on our Twitch channel if you really want to watch it.
Yeah.
It's mainly just Harmack sitting on a couch looking at his phone while we tested some footage. But if you really want to see it, it's there. But
great stuff, man.
yeah, but we got the arcade one, so we're going to talk about that. And that was the first one I originally played was the arcade. And then I think I remember playing the Sega Master System version, which was, I think, closest to the arcade. The NES one was kind of just like done specifically for the NES. And to make no mistake about it, the NES one is really what drew people to the series. That's, you know,
It really is.
Bar none. That's the one that most people played. But
I think the one biggest complaint people had though was that with the difference between the actual arcade version to the Nintendo version is you couldn't play both Billy and Jimmy at the same time,
right,
because of limitations of the system, because they would only allow, I think, something like 3 sprites per section on that screen.
Well, they also share the 2 players share the same sprites too. You would think you're playing the same guy.
Exactly. So the one thing that the arcade had over it is you could play both Billy and Jimmy at the same time.
So what I'm going to do is shift this over to the couch. I'm going to move all my stuff here and grab a controller. We're going to be playing the Nintendo Switch version. So if you see the Nintendo Switch here, that's kind of what we're going off of, because I don't have an actual arcade unit of it that I can just pump into the stream here, obviously. But
you didn't go into your vault, to the arcade vault you had?
No, unfortunately I did not. Okay, we're back. Here's Double Dragon, the arcade one. We've got original mode and we've got caravan mode. No, Harmack, this is not an actual caravan here.
Well, come on, it makes it sound like it's like the traveling mode.
All right, so this is the arcade version of Double Dragon. This is the one that came out in the arcades first. I'm gonna throw some coins in here, and go ahead and start the game. So the game always starts. By the way, I love that. Not only does the chick take a punch, she gets lifted over his shoulders, and it's nothing but like a clear panty shot. Yeah. So
beautiful.
So in the NES one, they actually do that. They still do that, but of course there's no like panty shot or whatever. All right, so I'm trying to get the controls down here. This is punch, and this is kick. Okay, here we go.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, the further you go in the levels, the more abilities you get.
I think you have to like actually in the NES one. I remember you got the more you of a score you got, your hearts went up, and the more hearts you had, like the more abilities you were able to do. Like you weren't always able to flip guys over your shoulder like that.
Right.
But in this one, I'm seeming to be able to do it just right off the bat. So, ooh man, these controls are weird, especially on the Switch.
Yeah, you're punching the wrong way.
Well, I know. I'm trying to figure out. So it's like on the Switch controller, Y punches or Y kicks and A punches. It's just very unorthodox. Like I'm used to like B and Y doing this, but no, I guess it works. So this looks a lot like the first level of the NES one. You have Linda's here with the whips.
Yep.
So when did you say you played this in the arcade or on an NES console? Is that
I remember seeing it in the arcade. I never played it in the arcade. I remember watching people play it. No, the first one I ever played was on the NES. My friend Bill had it. And when I finally got my Nintendo, he let me borrow it. And it was pretty cool. I was able to beat it and all that good stuff. It felt pretty good, actually. Like playing, it was like one of the first few games other than like... excuse me, other than like Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior, that
guy wiped out, by the way.
Man, dude, ass handed to you.
This is hard. This is not easy.
No, the arcades weren't.
Beat up by Fat John Cena here. It's ridiculous.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, there you go. You killed John Cena.
Dude, I'm getting like this guy with the bat. He just won't let go. Good lord.
Man,
oh
don't
my god, look at this. Dead again. I'm glad I got a bunch of coins for it. Wow, this is brutal.
Can you imagine having to stuff quarters into this
I will gladly right now go back to the NES one because this is I'm not making this up. I'm literally trying to punch and kick this guy, and he just won't let me. It's like every time I throw a punch, nope, he give me the bat. Then I'm facing the opposite way. Dead. Game over. Wow, this is brutal. I'll go one more time with this, but man, this is.
Go to the NES version, dude.
Hey, I paid money for this one for the show. I'm gonna use it, man.
All right.
So,
but my friend Bill had it, and I remember watching him play it. I mean, and this is before we knew about the little tips and tricks to get through the game. I mean, we actually played it the right way, and it was kind of cool. Like down the road, a few years later, we'd play it again and just do all the different tips and tricks you could do. You could run up the wall at the end of the first stage. You can kill the first boss without even landing a hit. That kind of stuff. I mean, it was pretty cool. It was really a lot of fun to watch. I mean, like I was saying, it was the first game I had actually ever played that other than an RPG like Final Fantasy and
I changed a couple of my buttons around because this was just getting brutal. So now I got the punch and kick right beside each other. Maybe it was just a button combination that I was at before was just too difficult.
Well, if it makes you feel better saying so, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, now you got the black John Cena. That'd be more like Booker T.
Jeez, he just literally threw me around like a fucking ragdoll there.
Dude, he bitch slapped you to the ground.
I do not remember this game being this difficult in the arcade, unless there's like dip switches that are turned up to like full blast, difficulty.
It might be.
Like, please throw me your quarters,
And it looks like it's like a real difficult level.
So your buddy had it, you played it.
Yes, so I was gonna say, so it was like I said, other than Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior, it was the first game I'd ever played that was, set in a kind of a more modern time that actually had a story to it and an ending and everything. I mean, because every other game I had played up until that point, besides those other two, it was just, high score, kind of games. So it was really, I was instantly hooked just because of that.
So on this level, these guys have dynamite, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where these guys would, come up with dynamite, but we are at a construction site, so it's...
That's all right. He killed himself with the dynamite. That was pretty cool. But I was gonna say that you can't have dynamite in a family-friendly Nintendo game.
Yeah.
That's a family no-no.
So I remember hearing, like I said, I seen it in the arcade a couple times. Maybe I just sucked at it, or maybe like I didn't play it because I sucked at it. Like I don't have very many memories playing the arcade one. It's kind of like the NES one, but a little bit. There are differences.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulties in the arcade seems to be way over the top. So my parents like heard about this game, and they were like, "No, never will you ever own this game." Because the big thing when this game was in the news was that it was the first game where some of the enemies were women, like the Lindas,
Yeah.
and you were hitting them or punching them, and if you just look at the game, if you don't know what's going on in the game and you're just looking at it for the first time, you honestly, wow, the slowdown here is terrible. You honestly have no idea what's going on. Like, okay, all it looks like is this guy just dying. This guy that's just beating up people for no reason, and these people are defending themselves. If you're some parent looking at this, I could probably see where you'd come up with that idea. Like, there is a story behind this game. You're trying to get your girlfriend back. That's the story.
Right.
So when my parents seen that, this dude's beating up women, they're like, oh, well, this game celebrates men, abusing women. We'll never have that. So you'll never play the game, basically.
Right. Well, this is also around the time where...
now.
Right, and this is also around the time where, like, Double Dragon, anyone who played, not Double Dragon, but, what was the name of that game? I can't think of it all of a sudden. Like Dungeons and Dragons, it's a sign of the cult,
There's lots of 80s conspiracies, like
right.
Kids.
It's just
rock
parents
music
are afraid of what they didn't understand. They assumed the worst. I mean, like any parent probably would.
And believe me, like my parents were, they knew of that. They were kind of subjective to the cartoons that I watched too. Like, I watched Thundercats. That was one of my shows I watched in the afternoon.
Hell yeah!
And they were like, they saw like Mumra, and he had like a goat head.
Oh yeah,
when
he would turn into Mumra. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a sign of like the Satan's cult and everything. So they're like, nope. That's how they're putting that stuff into kids' shows now. They're putting it into cartoons. So like, I was never banned from watching it. Like I was just kind of like, really, I don't care. There was a rumor. There was a rumor too about Legend of Zelda. Like they said, Legend of Zelda, like the name Zelda, goes back to the satanic cult.
Well, they were really like stretching when they were saying, the Triforce is like some sort of satanic symbol and stuff.
Yeah, well, they could easily say any of that, and
Oh yeah.
Get away with that.
And they wouldn't listen to us kids because and really, none of the kids that I ever knew playing this game or any other game would ever sit there and go, "Oh, it's okay to hit women." We all knew it.
Right, and I knew even as a kid, I'm like, I would never just go up and punch a woman. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, if I was gonna be like, "Oh, wow, I can do that in this game," it's like it's the same thing that goes back to the whole like, kids doing things because Grand Theft Auto told them to.
Yeah, that's
like,
a pitiful ass excuse.
Yeah, like even growing up, like and playing this, I never, wanted to take a bat and go up and be like, "Hey, let me swing this bat at you," for no reason.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's why I always laugh when I hear people go, video games are the reason of the culture. No, it's because the culture's changed. I mean, people aren't bad because of what they see on TV. I mean, the only reason we were good kids is just, you were told that it wasn't right to do, and you believed it.
Yeah, if you had parents that told that stuff to you, like you pretty much If you basically here I was at my house. If I did anything wrong, if I did anything stupid, I got punished for it. So I knew, like, there's one incident where I didn't like my babysitter. She was this girl that lived across the street. I couldn't stand her. Like, she didn't abuse us or anything. She didn't hit us or anything, but, like, she was just a bitch, okay?
Yeah.
So I couldn't stand her. So, and funny thing is, I'm, like, friends with her today. She's actually on my Facebook. Yeah,
Hopefully she's not listening.
Yeah, I don't think she's listening. So
That'd be awkward.
one day, and I didn't know, because I was just, a 5-year-old kid and knew no better, but she was yelling at me for something, and so I grabbed the first thing I saw, like, because I'm thinking, like, this is back in the day where, like, I would use, like, water guns or, like, spray bottles of water and stuff like that. Like, I didn't...
Super soakers and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I never knew anything about what poison anything was. So I reached for the first thing I saw, and I thought it was, like, a bottle of, like a little air, like a little water spray can.
Yeah.
But it was, like, a bug spray can, and I sprayed it at her. And so, like, she made a big deal of it. It hurt. I'm sure it hurt.
Oh, God. I'm sure it didn't tickle.
Yeah, she made a big deal about it, went home, basically, and then my mom, like, grounded me for, like, 2 weeks.
Well, you had it coming.
Never hit anybody with bug spray. I'm like, I didn't even know what it was. Like, I'm like, I don't know what bug spray is. I'm 5 years old. You know?
But it was a lesson that you'll never forget.
Well, I knew I got in big trouble for that because A, I used it on a girl, and B, you just don't spray people with, bug spray. I knew, like, what a bat was. I knew, you don't hit people with a bat. It's, like, obvious things. But, if you...
I think a lot of parents forget that kids actually, for the most part, kids are stupid. I was one of them. But
There's Ball John Cena again. I'll throw him into the lake.
Kids, though, they can, they he threw you right in the leg. Nice. Kids actually can put 2 and 2 together. They know. It's not like they don't have any wherewithal of what to do. And I understand that parents are trying to choose, but I still remember to this day my mom even telling me, what you see on TV, that's just fake. You don't do that in real life. And that stuck with me. And it made a lot of sense. I pretty much knew that already. But you were pretty much told by your parents, it just solidified the fact that, okay, my assumptions were correct. You don't do this in real life. Yep. And so I think that's the difference now. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's just the violence and stuff. I don't think it's really that anyone's gotten any more violent. I just think it's just more advertised than it used to be.
Well, I don't mean to be turning this into a violence in video games episode of the show, but what I'm getting at is, like, my parents told me, you'll never play this. So I went to a buddy's house who had it.
The kids will find a way.
Yeah, so the first thing I did was we played the battle mode, because this game, that was one of the new things the NES one had, was it had a battle mode. So you could, like, it was
B-mode.
It was basically like your modern day Street Fighter. Yeah, it was B mode. It was like Street Fighter before there was Street Fighter. And so we had fun just beating each other up, and it was like one of the first 2-player games I remember having the best experience with. Like, there was nothing else like it at the time. Well, there may have been other games like it, but there was nothing else to me that I knew that was.
It wasn't until Double Dragon 2 where you could play together, but it was really cool to play it with your friend, and then, like, if he died, you'd jump in. That was a cool feeling. I was like, all right, now I'm here to help you out. I have to agree. That was one of the more memorable things too, because most of the time it was like you were competing with each other as opposed to helping each other out.
Yep.
But it did, like you said, it did include the battle mode, which was kind of neat, so you could fight each other.
And then we would take turns playing the player one part. Like, we would see how far we would get, which it wasn't very far. Because this game, even on the NES game, the game was hard, but it wasn't really... Okay, here I'm getting, like, basically mauled by 2... They're called the Bobos, I realize, in the game. But here they look like John Cena. So I'm getting mauled by 2 John Cenas here. But in the game, like, you fought them, but you could usually beat them. The hardest parts about the NES one, okay, like in the arcade one here, you have a dedicated jump button.
Yeah.
So here, like, I'm jumping, like, right now, right? So I'm hitting a button to do that. In the NES one, you had 1 button for punch, 1 button for kick, and to
then
jump.
Wasn't both Both buttons, right?
To jump, you had to hit A and B together, which, okay, like you can do it. It's not like the game is restrictive, but when you're doing platforming in this type of a fighting game, it doesn't work. And it was very hard. We would get to certain parts of the game where I couldn't do the jumps right, and then they had conveyor belt jumps. You know,
those are the worst.
And I think they're in the arcade one too. But again, the arcade one here, I think we're going to the enemy base, so we might find them here. But again, the arcade one has a dedicated jump button.
Right.
Fell off a cliff here.
Yeah.
This has been considerably easier since I got my controls fixed around, but this is still ridiculous. Like I try to throw a kick in, and it's constantly, or a kick or a punch, it's constantly interrupted.
Yep. That was the one thing about the arcade ones, though, is they purposely made it like that so you keep pumping in quarters.
Well, look at this one too. Like this guy, he won't go down. Like I punched him on the ground several times, and he just will not go down.
He's a boss.
Man, he's not. I don't think he's a boss.
Oh, he's not. Oh no, you're just in the lair.
I literally just started the stage. I don't know how it can be a boss unless like maybe it is a boss. I don't know. I don't remember this guy from the NES one. What's up, TP Poker? What's going on, buddy?
TP, what's up, buddy?
Oh, great. And then they serve up the same exact guy again.
Well, you know, in case you didn't have enough of the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to change the title of the show here, but this is our new Thursday night show called Game and Chat.
That's right.
Just tuned in. Harmack and I will be playing games on Thursday nights at 10 o'clock for about an hour or so. And then we'll be chatting it up while we play these games, or while I, in the beginning, play these games. We'll be doing some online games down the road. Got a couple ideas.
Right now we got a bunch of classics lined up. So you gotta start with the classics, man.
Yeah. Well, or
the genesis of gaming.
This is absolutely ridiculous how hard this is.
God damn, this guy's still alive.
No, there's two of them. There's like another one that comes out after that guy. Like they throw two of the same guy at you. Oh, and now they've got him and another guy with red sweatpants. All right, so I'm going to switch here. I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to go back to... I'm actually going to save it just in case. But I'm going to go back here, and let's play the NES one real quick.
There you go.
This is the game I'm more familiar with. How's it hanging, gents? Can we get a nice session of Call of Duty again? Yes, we're working on that on one of our future game nights on the show. This is just our game and chat podcast, if you will.
That's right.
So...
hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I know I am.
Give us some feedback, or if there's some specific games you want us to play. Let us know. Eventually, I did end up with this game. I actually own it. Yeah, I own it. It's in my library. So
yeah, but did your parents give it to you, or did you?
An uncle of mine bought it for me.
Notice how her underwear's not showing this time.
Yeah, she's wearing like a long skirt. All these controls are much better now. If anything, like the NES version is like superior to that arcade version. Like it's just.
Yeah, it looks like the arcade version. The controls felt a little slippery.
Yeah, well, it's not slippery. It's just like my punches and kicks would just constantly be interrupted. And I was playing on the default mode.
Default mode, yeah.
By the way, they just took away my. Oh wait, here it is, the whip, and they took it away anyway.
No, that's the other thing that was different about this game, the other one, because of the limitations of the console. Once the thing progressed, it would take your weapon away.
So once it like loaded the next scene into memory, basically.
It would have to, because it was only allowed 3 sprites and like a weapon or 2. So it would unload the weapon from you just in case the players coming up or the NPCs coming up had a weapon or 2.
But when I did get this game though, it was way down the line. Like I think I got it a few years later. Like that's the thing about my parents, that they would forget, like something new would come along and they would never remember the names of these games. They would just know what was, being talked about at the present. So,
So they actually ended up buying you one.
No, they didn't buy it. An uncle of mine bought it for me, but when I had it, like I was playing it, I never got asked, but they never really checked what games I was playing either. So I don't know. I'm sure to this day they probably
knew
forgot
you were a
about
good
it.
kid.
Who knows? I mean, they may not be as stupid as I'm making them. Maybe they were just like, screw it, Probably making a mountain out of something. Where is that Hump Harmack? He's actually on here with us.
I'm on here, man. What the hell?
He's on here with us. He's not. His camera's not on, but he is on, and he should have went over the conveyor belt. This is a Bobo. This is the guy that's supposed to be John Cena in the arcade one. Please let me know when we want to play Call of Duty. That was a fun day. We will, and that'll probably be on a Friday show for sure. Oh shoot, they really just start you right into this. So then, after this one came Double Dragon 2, which we may play down the road. At some point.
First, it was a very good successor to this game, in my honest opinion. I mean, it was done really well, and it gave you the graphics were roughly the same, maybe a little bit better, obviously. But the one thing that I liked about 2 was that now you could play together.
He said TP Poker says you sound very manly this evening. I don't know what that
Well,
means, but
that's because I am a man.
that's because you're getting 2 words in edgewise, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Harmack doesn't get this much time to talk during the other show because there's 3 of us over talking him typically on our Friday show.
So basically, I'm just listening, waiting for my time.
I remember when 2 came out, the big thing about it was, I remember the commercial saying that, like, it's supposed to be one of the hardest games you've ever played because you had basically no continues. Oh,
no, I thought that was the third one.
Oh, man, I just literally fell in that pit. I didn't even do that. Like, the game sucked me down that pit there.
Well, I've had that happen before.
Just watch when I come off the fence.
Yep. That ain't the first time I've seen that happen.
Wow. I forgot that this game was that...
Yeah, you got to stay way over to
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna jump right off the fence here. I'm in mission 2, by the way, for anybody just podcasting this. It's great that to podcast the show, and this will be available. We're gonna get this on iTunes and the escapeshow.com, Google Play, all that good stuff. But if you really want to see what's going on, the best place to listen to this or watch would be on Twitch because you can at least see what's going on in the game.
Yeah, and you guys can always, not to plug my own show, but you guys can tune into mine too. I do.
DJ Harmack's Block Party, sick plug there, Harmack.
That it is.
Well, you can go ahead and talk about it.
No, it's just a Block Party request show. It's every Friday before the Escape show.
So you're on at 8 o'clock. You're on at 8 o'clock. The Escape is on at 9. All times are Eastern here.
Obviously, yes. And basically, you just send me your music requests in the chat room, and if I've got the music, I will play it. It's kind of like, think of me as like a fat jukebox.
A fat Spotify.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be cheap. I'm gonna be cheap here. I could technically fight this guy if I really wanted to.
But why bother?
But there's a glitch in this game where if you just immediately when you hit a ladder, the enemies freeze and the game locks them into this like a lock state, and basically you can just climb down the ladders. The game forgets that the boss is out there and erases the boss, and you end up winning.
Yep. That's one of the coolest tricks.
It's weird that they had so many memory limitations. Like, I think it depended on like different chips that like third parties had in their games to give the games more memory. Because I remember noticing that at first when like Castlevania 3 came out, because it had its own sound chip.
Yeah.
Because they went like all out on that soundtrack for that game, and
that was one of the better soundtracks.
And you notice games getting like noticeably bigger too. Like this game is just pretty much 5 stages. The memory limitations are pretty crappy compared to some standards.
Yeah.
Here's funny.
Well, I think
here's the boss. They throw you now 2 bosses of the previous level you were just in, like immediately. I could go for a nice lap dance right now.
Couldn't we all?
TP Poker, you're the man.
But also, as Al can attribute, I've been doing my own Let's Play too during the week.
Yes. You can watch that here on our Twitch channel as well.
Yep.
Or you can
also on
follow.
YouTube.
Yeah, or you can follow Harmack on his own channel, twitch.tv/Harmack1.
That's right.
You'll get
Or
alerts.
you can follow it on YouTube, because unfortunately Twitch deletes the videos after a certain number of days.
I think when you get more followers or when you get more videos going, I think that lessens, that stops.
Yeah, that may. I don't know, but I'm doing actual Let's Plays, and it's usually most of them are going to be games that either I haven't played before or have, but most of them are going to be ones I haven't played before, and basically just going through it blind, not using a guide to go through or anything like that, just playing it for what it is.
So you remember when I was talking about the Double Dragon with the button controls, like one button is jump, one
Oh yeah,
is...
this is where it sucks.
So,
I died so
yeah,
many times,
this is where platforming comes into play. So in the arcade one, you had a dedicated jump button. Here I don't have one, so I'm going to have to hit A and B together and pray that jump pulls off. And it did, but, well, Harmack, you'll see what happens.
Let's see. Oh yeah.
Harmack's on a bit of a delay.
And right
Yep.
into the I
And
made it.
It
I
literally,
didn't
oh
make it.
wow, I actually got over this time.
Nice.
Um,
But yeah, so my channel basically is like I've been doing the Uncharted series. How the hell did you bounce over that? Right now I've been doing the Uncharted series because I've never played it before, and I finished Uncharted 2 last night. I was there to witness it.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, I tuned in. I think the best part about your show is that you have that text to speech on Twitch enabled.
yeah,
So when people come in there and start talking, like Harmack hears it on screen, so you can actually say whatever. And I couldn't imagine like TP Poker's quotes, you know, about the lap dance or whatever going out, and that's like embedded into your stream.
oh yeah,
So
that's
like,
fine.
You can't.
That's fine with me.
It's on the same audio channel.
Yeah, but I have to do it that way because eyesight-wise, if I have the chat open, I can't read the chat.
Yeah, Harmack is pretty much blind.
I mean, I was really thinking about naming the show, you know, Blind Harmack Plays Blind, but then we kind of came to the assumption that might offend some, some blind people, even if I am blind.
So we came up with another offensive title. Let's play with DJ Harmack. Why not create another offensive title and go with that instead? Right?
Yeah, listen to that name and try to sleep tonight.
Yep. So here's
Oh, is this where they come out of the wall?
two abobos here, and I got a game over. And you get no continues, by the way, either. It's back to title screen.
There is a code though that you can get continues with. If I'm not mistaken, I swear there was.
Better not be giving away false facts here, Harmack. There's
No,
a code.
I swear there was. There was some sort of code.
There's really a code for this.
I think. I'm trying to remember if there was. I don't remember now. I think there was.
His channel name, Humpin' with Harmack, should have been the name of the show. Harmack's channel name is Harmack1.
Yeah, Harmack1.
But we air all of his channel, like we stream all of his channel onto the Escape Show when there's nothing else on. So even if you pull up, the one thing I don't like about Twitch though is that even if Harmack is live, like you get no real like alerts that he goes live. So the only way you would know if you didn't subscribe to him that he was on is if you just stumbled upon our channel while he was on and then just saw him playing. I wish Twitch would give away some updates like that, like, you know.
Well, Twitch they actually did. They actually updated it to it'll say, you know, it's not going to alert you every time somebody's on unless you want it to, and you have to click on that on the page you want, which is kind of annoying, but that's how it works now.
So this here was the battle mode. So you could do this 2-player. Basically, one player selects one guy, second player selects another. So I'm going to go with a Bobo here. And I think if you play the computer, they just throw you into like basic one-on-one matches, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't done this in a while. Oh yeah, here we go. And you can do like the running and the here we go. Oh man.
A Bobo versus a Bobo.
So this is Street Fighter before Street Fighter was Street Fighter. Like, you know, this is pretty much what you had in terms of fighting games on the original NES. There was no Hadoukens, there was no like, you know,
oh yeah, none of that yet.
crazy spin moves, anything like that. There was,
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Street Fighter 2 came out not too long after this. probably a couple year or two.
This was the 88, I think, or maybe 87. So Street Fighter was 89.
Yeah, so about 2 years.
Yeah. In the arcades, there were games like this. I'm talking specifically like home console.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
like you couldn't
I don't know.
I think there was fighting games in arcades around this time, or maybe they were getting there. But this was, if you wanted to play on an NES, this was how you did it. And we just had we had a blast playing this. But there's like a couple flaws. Like you can literally trap the computer or trap anyone really by this wall. But for some reason, like all my attacks don't do shit.
Oh, you knocked him down.
Yeah, well, he killed me. He killed me anyway. Well, that's Double Dragon.
That was awesome.
We played
that was nice. I haven't seen that game played in a long time. Yep. I mean, really. Nice to go back to that.
So here's the final thought here. Do we recommend this game? Harmack, do you recommend it?
Oh, do I recommend it? I implore you to play this game. It is really good. Even if you're not really good at gaming, this is not that hard of a game to do, and it's really easy to learn, because obviously, unlike the controllers of nowadays, you only got really 2 buttons and to really learn. And I mean, put it this way: if I could play it from the start, anyone can. So I would definitely recommend this game. The soundtrack is amazing. The graphics are great. Obviously, it's a pretty short game because of the time it was done, but all in all, it's a fun game to play. So I definitely recommend it. Yes.
So obviously, I would recommend it as well. I would definitely if you got a Switch, it's on the NES app where they give you free games. This is one of the initial runs that they gave you. So I would definitely recommend if you have a Switch and you just want to play it. If you're a Nintendo Online subscriber, it's free. It's a no-brainer. Give it a shot if it's in your library. In terms of that arcade one that I played earlier,
oh man,
I'll be honest. Like I paid, I think it was $7.99 for the arcade one just to have it basically for the show. Like I wanted basically to have just to see how it would go. So there are some cool things about this game in terms of, you can save your progress. I don't know what the high score mode is. I'm not sure how that differs from the actual arcade. I'd have to play a lot of these. I haven't played much of it yet, but the fact that I just get right back into the game. All I did was exit the game after a save, and I'm literally right back where I left off. You couldn't do that in arcades either. You couldn't do that in arcades back in the day. And
well, you could if you kept putting in quarters.
Yeah, but could you walk away for an hour and then just decide you want to come back and have the game?
No, because then some bully would take it over and take your spot and beat the game on you and say he won it.
Right. So look, if you're an arcade purist, then $8. Look, you'll spend more at McDonald's on a combo meal probably than you would on this game. So sure, if you're an arcade purist, pick it up. But if you have to choose between the NES one or the arcade one, you're definitely going to want to go with the NES one. It's just better in my opinion, even though this is what looks to be 16-bit arcade game. I don't know if that's a fact, but
it looks to be, or somewhat close to it.
Yeah, to me it's 16-bit.
Yeah. It
what
does
is
look
this?
16. Dude.
It's Alien John Cena. And the fact that you literally didn't kill me, it's so easy to walk off of cliffs in this game too. It's so stupidly easy to walk off cliffs. Although I may have found an easy way to beat this dude. Just hit him with the stinking rock over and over again. I don't know why I'm still playing this.
I don't either.
Yeah. Oh, I beat him. So yeah. So I'm done playing. So I'm gonna basically make a save point. I can come back here anytime I want and continue the game. Maybe on a future stream. Who knows?
There you go.
But yeah, basically, if you're an arcade purist, I would get the Switch version. If you're not, then go with the NES version, and that's that. So.
I from just watching this now, like I said, I never played the arcade one, so I can honestly say just from watching it being played, I'd have to say that that it just for some reason the Nintendo one looks more polished, the regular Nintendo one.
So here's more platforming because they've got, but not platforming, but this is almost like a puzzle. You have to watch where you're walking.
kind of reminds me of how was it?
Oh my God, I cannot get around this stuff. Oh.
It reminds me of.
You get knocked over, and then one of them comes. Okay, now here's a guy with a spear. Oh, this is crazy. Why would a gang be hiding out in this place? Like, why? And he's got dynamite. That's just crazy to me.
I mean, you could tell this version of the game was made to make the game money, obviously. I mean, it's exceedingly difficult. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's basically, it's a quarter hog. I mean, basically, it's...
It's really what it is. Like, you know, couple feet, pay a quarter. Couple feet, pay a quarter. Why is that one dude just standing there?
I don't know, but
out?
No, he's not glitched out. Like that's what they did in this game. Like some of the enemies would just freeze. They did that in the NES version too. I cannot pass this. This is insanity. Look how fast a quarter would have went there. By the way.
Oh God.
That would have been less. That would have been less than a minute.
Oh, easily. Damn.
Yeah.
What a jet. So yeah, I would honestly say though, just for nostalgia thing. I mean, like I said, for me the nostalgia one would be the Nintendo. I never did play it in the arcade. I did watch people play it, obviously, but yeah, I never really had much money on me, so I only played games that I knew I could possibly do good at, and I would just watch people just freaking pump quarters into this thing like there was no tomorrow. Obviously, for the reason that Al's dealing with right now, you just get your ass handed to you every chance.
This is Puerto Rican
Even the
John Cena.
even really good players would have problems. So, you know, I just was like, you know, no, not for me. Hey, look at this. You're getting tossed around like a freaking rag doll.
Well, what are we going to play next week, Harmack? What do you think about here?
Next week. Good question.
I had a thought. I thought I would maybe throw you the thought because I know it's a game you have a lot of memory with.
Sure.
But I'll let you pick the version.
All right. What game we talking?
One of my favorite NES games that I owned was DuckTales.
Oh.
So, what I was thinking maybe for our second show is maybe playing some DuckTales on the NES. Or if you'd like to play the PS3 remaster, we can probably make that happen as well.
To really be honest, I mean, the PS3 remaster was good, and I like the fact that it was the last time that the guy that did Scrooge McDuck was alive. I mean, he died shortly after making that.
Alan, I forgot his name.
He was the guy that played Wilbur.
Yeah, from Mr.
Guy,
Ed.
Mr. Ed. I think he was like, at the time when he did this remastered, he was in a retirement home. So, I mean, he was like in his, I think doing that game, I think he was like 91, I think, when they did it. And that shows you how much he loved doing the character. The voice acting was great because they got pretty much all the same voice acting back for it. I do remember playing the actual NES version of it. To really be honest, they're both good. I obviously the remastered version, they really did it a lot of credit, music-wise, gameplay-wise. I mean, it was just done.
You got to make a
really
decision.
well.
Which one? Alan Young is his name, by the way. I had to look that up.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, that was.
I had to look that up because that was bothering me too. Like I can't just give this guy credit and not, like.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say, seeing as we're still in the 8-bit era of our show, let's just do the regular Nintendo version of it.
All right.
And we can always, when we get up into the newer type games, we can always go back to that. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to the show this week. And this is, again, our inaugural show. We're going to try to get things a little bit better next week. We're going to try to get our webcams up and working and get the show to where it doesn't sound like a staticky mess like it sounded in the beginning there. So to everybody who tuned into the pilot episode here, just think of it like as the pilot of Seinfeld. It wasn't great, but then it got better over time.
Right. I mean, if you listen to even my Let's Plays on mine, you listen to the first one that I did compared to the one I did last night, it's definitely better.
TB
It gets
Poker,
better as you go.
the next wrestling show. What is the
That's
Royal
not for-
Rumble? It's a week or two. We'll have that on the Escape. We'll talk about all that on the Escape. It's not tomorrow. I believe it's the week after.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when that one will be. So that'll be all on the Escape tomorrow. And again, we'll be back on at 9:00 Eastern time, and the block party will be on at 8. So you want to definitely tune in for that. But
Definitely.
all right, guys, thanks for tuning into the show, and we'll be back next week with our next game and more game and chat.
Hell yeah. Take it easy, guys. See you next week.
Take it easy, everybody. See you later.